Welcome to Clever Orbits. I am one of your hosts, Louis Brandmeier, and my compatriot,
Richard Futrell,
is on the line with me. So tonight we're going to be discussing really great episode, in my opinion, The Butcher's Knife Cares Not for the Lamb's Cry, which is, it's the kind of episode title that I imagine Richard, like, in the middle of the night dreaming. Like this is the kind of thing that I just imagine that you probably, or maybe you come up with it like as a thought that you doodle on notebook paper in the middle of class one day. Like it's just the kind of thing that would sprout from your brain. Wouldn't you agree?
Or I put on my Twitter at Kanjo Bear.
Shameless plug there. Shameless.
But it's also a very original series title.
Yeah, it is. It is apparently the second longest title in Star Trek history, right below the World is Hollow and I Have Touched the Sky.
Yeah.
So, yeah. In this episode, according to Memory Alpha, with tensions and stakes high as Starfleet continues in their efforts to end the war with the Klingons, Burnham begins to settle into her new position aboard the USS Discovery. So, yeah.
It's accurate.
That's the thing. There's a lot to talk about here. It was fun. It was entertaining. It was the first episode that I was actually disappointed by from Discovery so far. And I don't quite know why. I mean, it was really good, and I liked it. But I guess maybe it's the, like, sparkle of newness that comes from, like, a really decently made pilot wearing off, and we got literally 3 episodes of pilots. so this is the first kind of run-of-the-mill baseline episode. I felt like the intensity of it was a little bit less for most of the episode than the previous 2. However, I still loved it. I still, think it was good. So what were your first thoughts, Richard?
Yeah, the series is settling into its pace now. I'm still not sold on this episode. I think it's very promising. It has a lot of promising things. I think my biggest issue is the writing doesn't seem great.
Well, so on the I've heard that. Tyler, who's out today, communicating by text, said something along the lines of it was not very well plotted. Like it was kind of chaotic.
It did seem a bit chaotic.
He says much more focus should have been put on Burnham and Ripper's plot line than anything else in the episode. The Klingon stuff could have had less time devoted to it or even moved to another episode. Like, I was kind of bored with the Klingon stuff. I mean, I'm glad that it happened, I guess. But
yeah, the Klingons have I think the issues with the Klingons are they're always talking in Klingon, which is, like, cool, but it means you have to read the subtitles all the time, which means you don't get to see all the pretty visuals that they made for these ship interiors with all the gold stuff. It's like they put a lot of work into that. It's really very pretty, and you're reading subtitles. And also their masks, it looks like they're wearing rubber masks. They just don't have much facial expression, these Klingons. And so the result is that it takes a bit of effort to get into the Klingon scenes.
Yeah, and it kind of, anyway, that's probably enough to say about the Klingon scenes exactly. I mean, like, it'll get more interesting hopefully later on.
They'll go to the matriarchs. That sounds cool.
What's that?
They're going to go to the Klingon matriarchs. Volk will have to sacrifice everything. Maybe he's going to become Arnhem. Well, maybe he's going to, become that guy Arnhem, the human Klingon in disguise, and then, try to infiltrate Discovery.
Maybe, I mean, that would fit with, like, the Klingons know about the augments, and the augments look like humans, and so all you have to do is turn them into an augment.
Yep.
Which would be great.
Although
I think when she says you have to sacrifice everything, you'll notice it's a matriarchal clan. I think he's going to have to cut off his penis.
It seems conceivable. This isn't quite HBO though. It's still CBS. It's still TV 14.
Yeah, no unnecessary nudity and crazy chaotic things. Well, I was joking. I have no idea what's going to go on there. Let's see. So what I really, really, really loved was the spore drive. I thought cool to see it work. I thought it was cool to see why the ship is structured the way that it is, because those spinny wheel things have something to do with the displacement field. I also love the classic Trekkian plot line of like this tardigrade who is suffering, being kind of used to make the drive work. I love that she discovered that Burnham was the one to figure it out.
Oh, she discovered that it wasn't violent, and then it turned out it just got exploited based on what she discovered.
Well, I think, so what's interesting is I think she initially, because of her desire for objectivity and because of her empathy, of all things, as a human raised by Vulcan, because of her empathy, discovered what was really going on with the tardigrade, number one, then saw how it didn't really want to be there, engaged in what it was doing, and also kind of laid the seeds for what we see in the preview of the next episode, which is where she begins to take a stand for its either sentience or deservingness of life as a separate being. It's very Star Trek. It's very much like Star Trek 4 is what it reminds me of. Like the whales are intelligent and we're abusing or messing with them, and so what we need to do is rescue them and treat them right. And so with this creature, that's why the drive doesn't get used going forward, is because it requires the presence of this thing. And also I want to think, or I'd like to hope, because Section 31 has it classified or something as well. I mean, I'm still going with that. But,
have you noticed the serial number of the Discovery is 1031?
Yeah, I think that actually is a count against the theory that Section 31 is involved, because they wouldn't have it be that obvious.
Yeah.
This is a 31 ship. It's right there in the registry number. Yeah, I remember reading those theories.
Did you notice that when they had the tardigrade in the chamber so they could use it for navigation, it had nipple clamps?
No, I did not.
Apparently you need that in order to tap into the brain, to really tap into the brain of a creature.
When clearly we saw from the displays earlier that the brain was located up at the top.
Yeah, but that's how you really get it going. I also thought it was interesting that this whole idea is basically a sort of weird version of the Guild Navigators from Dune. The idea that the reason you need this creature is that it has the brain power to predict where you're going to come out of hyperspace or whatever. It's exactly the same as the Guild Navigators is Dune. I also like the detail that they said they might encounter a wall of Hawking radiation when they're coming out of jump, which is cool because in general relativity, Hawking radiation is the kind of thing you would encounter in a faster-than-light travel scenario, and it would in fact probably destroy your ship.
Oh, so it's a real thing.
Yeah, Hawking radiation's real. It's around black holes, but it would also form if there were a real warp drive.
Huh. Interesting. Well, I also liked the reference to the mycelial plane.
Yeah.
There's a mycelial plane of existence, which
I'm
cool.
still hoping turns out to be related to fluidic space somehow. That would be cool.
Yeah, maybe they dip into fluidic space, or I don't see a clear connection yet, but anyway, I like that the drive spins the ship. Some people online were comparing it to a spinning top, and then inevitably some people started comparing it to a pizza.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah, and then somebody showed a picture of the Enterprise pizza cutter with that pizza.
That's wonderful.
I really hope for and anticipate episodes where Discovery is single-handedly turning the tide of the war. I think that would be a great direction for this thing to go, until eventually Michael Burnham has to free the creature, and then I don't think she's going to free the creature. I think she's been punished too strongly to not find colorful ways to draw between the lines, and she really wants that freedom and that respect. And the scene with the replicating of her new space uniform was awesome. I thought it was the most epic kind of shell game that's ever been played with a viewer in Star Trek, and some of the most visually stunning stuff. I mean, because it looked like what? It looked like this crazy hellscape lightning storm at first, right?
It was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. Which means that that basically at this stage in Star Trek, they have kind of proto-replicators. I mean, like, we know about
only.
that. Yeah, well, also protein synthesis and other stuff. Like, they have food synthesizers, and that's what they're called in TOS. So maybe they had proto-replicators of some kind. Maybe it just wasn't called that, or I don't know.
The opening shot of the uniform being synthesized was pretty cool. I wish these episodes were longer. 40 minutes isn't very long. When there's like a long sequence of a uniform being synthesized, I'm starting to think like, we only got 40 minutes here.
We really need a lot of stuff to happen, and this gives us less time for that stuff to happen. Yeah, let's see. I like the title. Clearly it refers to the tardigrade, right? The butcher's knife cares not for the lamb's cry. The lamb and
the butcher is the tardigrade. No. The butcher's knife is the nipple clamp.
No, the butcher's knife is Starfleet's militarism and needs to ensure its own survival. And the lamb is this poor, sentient, intelligent creature. If it can hold that much information in its mind at once, it's got to be intelligent. Or maybe it's instinctual. I mean, if it's just an animal that holds all that information, what a cool freaking animal. I mean... Yeah,
I guess the idea is that it lives on the mycelial plane, and it looks for these spores, and it ended up in the Glen because it just materialized there looking for the spores.
Yeah, we still don't know how it got there. Like, how did it...
No. The characters act like they figured it out, but it's still pretty unclear to me.
Oh, I did like that the narrative punished the security character by having her just brutally and suddenly murdered.
Yeah, she deserved it. I really didn't like her. I really felt like she was the least Star Trek of all the characters. She's like mean and cynical and violent, and it's something that's like a good character in other shows, but it really just didn't seem very Star Trek at all. And the way she died, I'm glad she's dead, but the way she died didn't seem very Star Trek either. Just grab a gun and take down the force field and go in, and it was also stupid. Like, in addition to being mean and cynical, she's also, a lot of these characters in the show actually seem pretty dumb. Like, Michael Burnham and Saru are the only ones that appear to be intelligent. They make a lot of bad choices.
Seems to have some cleverness about him.
Yeah, Lorca's got, he's very mysterious, so that makes me give him the benefit of the doubt. But it did seem kind of strange that he had this big creature, and the first thing he thought was we could use its hide as armor.
He could use it to what?
We could use its hide as armor. That's what he was getting at.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I think I understand what they had to do in the writer's room, but the fact that he took it on board initially to use it for a weapon, and then it happened to be exactly what they needed for the drive, like that, that could have been written just a little bit better, I feel like.
Yeah.
I mean,
it was a nice coincidence. Yeah. I mean, it's less
very nice
because,
I like the ship more and more. I love it, actually. It's beautiful and elegant, and it was cool to see it in action, and moving around and, swiftly cutting through space. That was awesome. The battle sequence was all right. I liked, Lorca through this episode when he says it would have been hard to do worse about his crew. I was like, that's such a great line. It was so much fun. And then the other piece where he is conducting his bridge crew. His hand gestures remind me of a musical conductor. And how he's holding his arms up and stuff. And I also thought it was kind of funny that he asked if everybody was ready to go. I mean, you're the captain, man. It doesn't matter if they're ready to go.
Oh, well, it seems reasonable to ask that.
So let's see what else. I don't have too much about this one.
Yeah, it's sort of sparse on things to talk about. It feels like it's sort of a connector episode between different plot points. Maybe that's why you felt it was chaotic.
Well, that was Tyler's judgment, right? I don't necessarily think that it's chaotic. It is what it is. My two last thoughts, crazily enough, I think that might have been why there was just less to sink my teeth into. There was less that was interesting to engage with intellectually, to pick apart and analyze. But last two thoughts. The writers are very confused still about the nature of shield percentages. I mean,
yes.
We don't need those. We've never needed those.
I think we do, though. I don't like, after watching all the Star Trek, I don't know how worried I should feel unless I hear a shield percentage or see one. Plus, did you notice it was Saru that was the one calling? I mean, plus, like, if they don't have shield percentages to call out, then there's going to be a lot of unemployed people in Starfleet.
I mean, so from a plot perspective, it's a way to pad the narrative so that you don't just have the ship explode when someone shoots at it. I mean, like, either you have some time where they're shooting at us and the weapons are not making a direct impact on the hull, and then they are, or you have, like, oh, well, we just lost that deck. And it seems like, I mean, it seems reasonable that shields would have been something that got devised or invented between Enterprise and the original series, and they seem really useful. And I guess they're kind of an adaptation of deflector shields, like they're a higher strength version of that or whatever. We don't ever really talk about them. We don't ever really, like, what are they? How do they work? Well, they have
a frequency
and emitters. Yeah, the frequency that can be changed or known. And if it's known, then you can fire through it like they aren't there. Thank you, Generation.
And not until they encountered the Borg did anyone think of the idea of modulating the shield frequency randomly.
Yeah. Or, there's something that you can't beam through. Yeah, that's another thing, right?
Yeah, although that one hasn't been super consistent.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes if you find the right harmonics or something, you can kind of do your thing. So let's see. I like that we're gonna have Harry Mudd in the next one. I think that's exciting.
That looks cool.
And
it looks like, yeah.
Just real quick, when I woke up this morning, I found a solution to him and to Sarek. Sarek and Harry Mudd were both involved in a particularly horrific and disfiguring transporter accident that caused them to look the way they do in the original series.
I see.
And for Harry Mudd, it causes him to gain a great deal of weight.
Oh, that could just happen with time.
Yeah, I guess that's also a thing. But
I'm looking forward to Mudd because he's going to hopefully introduce a wave of fun and maybe even joy into this show, because I feel like there's not a lot of fun, and that's sad.
Actually, I'm pretty confident there's not going to be fun. I'm pretty confident this version of what's his name is Mudd is not.
It's dark.
Yeah.
It's frightening.
Yeah.
And cynical and mean and dumb.
It's like a con artist. I mean, it's like a con man. So, yeah, and he's always been kind of a con man. He's just, later on, he's kind of senile and ineffective. I want to see him in his prime when he's just a master manipulator, player, survivor, as he says in the trailer. Like, that'll be interesting. And then why the heck is Lorca gonna get kidnapped? Like, he's too smart for that.
Yeah, something's gonna happen fast. At least we know the next episode's gonna move fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I guess the hype rosy glasses are starting to fade on this show for me a little bit, or maybe it's just that this episode didn't really have as much to talk about as the previous ones. I feel like something that I feel like is really important in Star Trek, maybe even the most important thing, is that it has these sort of moments of joy, like in the end of Star Trek 6, when Captain Kirk says, second star to the left and straight on to morning with a twinkle in his eye. He says a similar thing at the end of the motion picture. It's these little moments that, and they earn these moments of joy by putting the characters through hard times, like in Deep Space Nine. But I feel like that tone is not present so far in Discovery. It could be, and I think it's possibly there. I think it's potentially there, but I haven't seen it yet, and I'm hoping for it.
Yeah, something that we get to experience later. I like how you put that. I really do. There's the fun that they have that Riker's always having on Next Gen that we see, in the end of all throughout Star Trek 4 and the end of Star Trek 6. Yeah, we're
the fun, and
so
there's
far,
also a certain professionalism they have, which is, I don't know, this crew is all like mean and snarky to each other.
Yeah, they're not very kind and gentle and generous and loving.
Maybe they'll come together. Maybe this is a story of them coming together.
Yeah, smoothing out the rough edges. So,
very rough edges.
Tyler wants us to mention how pointless Landry's death was. Yeah, I liked that. I really loved that it was pointless. Also, the spore drive was dazzling visually. Yeah. Plus the amount of thought that was devoted to and with Ripper was good old familiar Trek done well. Now, that's a great point that we've kind of forgotten to make. This is Discovery's full foray into Star Trek. Like, this is where it's 100% clear to anybody who's got a sympathetic willingness to view it that this is Star Trek. And, you can debate whether or not it's done well, but that's the kind of stuff Star Trek does. So, yeah.
Yeah. I found it a little heavy-handed. Like Michael has this line, you're going to judge this species based on one past action. It's like I don't know, the connection to stereotypes is just like, it could not be more obvious.
You're going to judge me based on one past action? Yeah, one of the authors or the executive producers talks about how this is basically the thing, the monster is a representative for her. Like it's a really clear metaphor for how Burnham gets treated. So.
Oh, something else to check out. In After Trek, did you see this? They interviewed this real scientist named Paul Stamets, who apparently came up with this mushroom drive idea.
Yeah, I don't think he actually came up with the mushroom drive idea.
It seems like he was pretty clearly on drugs.
What is it he says? I don't provide, nature provides them. I just use them, right?
Yeah.
Something like that. I don't provide them. Nature provides them. So, yeah, it was a good episode. I think I'd give it a 4 out of 5. Yeah.
Yeah? I'd give it a 7 out of 10.
Oh, yeah?
That's pretty good.
Awesome.
I don't curve.
Now, we could really talk about is the Star Wars trailer. That's got a lot of stuff to sink your teeth into, but that's a different podcast.
That is very interesting. That is a very seductive topic.
I mean, it is. It was fun. I've only watched it 3 times.
Yeah? I think I watched it 3 times.
Mostly on the toilet.
Do you think Kylo's going to kill Leia?
Yeah, probably. And then I also think, well, I don't know. I really don't know. I think clever editing could have made that really like, we don't know. So, yeah. All right, guys. I mean, Guy, I'm so used to Tyler being here. We miss him. I guess I miss him. So that was it, and thank you for joining us. Have a wonderful night.
Good luck all, and thanks for listening.